They say the ones who love us most are meant to protect us, to be our shelter, our compass. But what happens when that love gets tangled in something it was never meant to be? Something confusing, overwhelming, soft and sharp all at once. I never thought I'd speak about this. But here I am. My name is Daniel Walker. I'm 18 years old, and this is the hardest truth I've ever tried to understand, let alone tell. I grew up in a small town tucked away in Indiana. Life there was slow, familiar, almost frozen in routine. My mother, Rachel Walker, was 39. A single parent who wore herself thin working long hours at the hospital. She was a nurse, and somehow, despite everything she carried, she always made time for me. She didn't just raise me. She anchored me. We were more than just mother and son, we were a unit. She made me feel secure, seen. I thought what we had was ordinary, just close. But over time I realized it was more complicated than that. Maybe too close. Rachel had this undeniable warmth. The kind that filled a room the moment she walked in. Her laugh, bold, full-bodied, made people turn their heads. Her hugs lingered longer than most. And for years we did everything together. Meals, bedtime stories, rainy days under the same blanket. We even shared a bed well into my teens. Not because of space, but because it felt normal. Or so I believed. She would kiss me goodnight, stroke my back gently until sleep came. From the outside maybe it looked strange. But to us it was comfort. It was love. It was home. But something shifted as I got older. Something subtle at first. I started noticing things. Like the way her shirt clung to her shoulders when she cooked, or how her hair spilled from its tie as she laughed. I hated that I noticed. I hated myself for it. But those thoughts came, uninvited and louder each time. I tried to push them down, to pretend they weren't there. But the more I resisted, the more they surfaced. The love I'd always felt for her started changing shape. And I didn't know what to do with it. One day I came home early from school. The house was still and quiet. I went to the bathroom to grab my charger and didn't think to knock. I opened the door and froze. My mom had just stepped out of the shower, steam curling around her like fog. She gasped and grabbed a towel, but she didn't yell. She just gave a soft laugh. "Daniel," she said lightly, "you've got to start knocking." Embarrassed, I mumbled an apology and shut the door. But inside I was shaken. That moment unsettled me in a way I didn't understand. I kept replaying it not because I wanted to but because I couldn't stop. After that, the line between comfort and discomfort began to blur. Every time she leaned in to hug me, every time she curled up next to me on the couch, my stomach twisted with confusion and shame. I lay awake most nights, trying to make sense of it. She was my mother. But she was also a woman. And that thought terrified me. One Friday night we were watching a rom-com on the couch. Some forgettable movie with dramatic music and overly staged kisses. She was tucked against my side, her head resting against my chest. I remember the faint scent of lavender in her hair. My heartbeat quickened. She looked up at me and smiled like she'd done 1,000 times before. But something about that smile made my chest tighten. After the movie she stretched, yawning. "I'm heading to bed," she said, glancing over her shoulder. "You coming?" I hesitated. I should have said no. I should have let the moment pass. But I followed her down the hallway like I always had. She changed into the same old oversized t-shirt she wore to sleep and slipped under the covers. I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, thoughts crashing like waves. I didn't touch her. I didn't speak. But the air between us felt heavier than ever. I wanted to cry, to scream, to confess all the confusing things I'd been feeling. But I said nothing. And neither did she. The silence stretched until it felt like a scream.